we have the greatest. Well, I think I'm putting him up there. I'm going to blow some smoke there. The greatest. He's got records coming out of his where. He set every record except for the try scoring record. Cameron Smith, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Good morning, fellas. Another huge weekend of footy, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
leading into a very
No,
important weekend for a lot of teams.
Yeah. Hey, now listen, something came up the first 2 hours. Now Brisbane, Melbourne. One of our texters had the hide to say. And they use the term throw the game, but we'll pull that right back. Mm-hmm. Would Melbourne go into this week knowing that their top 4 spots assured and play, let's go, rope-a-dope, knowing that then they could play Brisbane the following week? Like, go easy this week, and then they're locked in to play them next week again. Same ground.
Yep.
And ambush them. Is that a possibility?
Look, it's always a possibility, isn't it, boys? But I think if you look at the performance of the Storm last weekend against the Gold Coast, I don't think Craig Bellamy would be entirely happy with the way they played. So with 15 minutes to go, they're only up by 2 points. And this is against a side that is gone, okay? Their season was gone. They had nothing to play for. And, the Storm, well, they're trying to gear themselves up ready for a semi-final series. So I don't know whether this time around this year Craig will be making sort of wholesale withdrawals from his footy side as far as trying to rest up. I think he might want to try and build a bit of confidence, a bit of continuity with this footy side moving into the finals, particularly knowing that there's a high probability that they're going to face the Broncos week 1 of the final series.
Yeah, but that's the only way that someone, a coach, and we're talking about, the text message said, they'll pull up. The only way a team pulls up is if the coach makes changes and picks a young side. You don't have a team run out there and go, Craig doesn't say to the team as they run out, boys, look, we really don't want to win this. Don't just ease up.
That's right.
That doesn't happen.
That's right.
No, but I just do want to take it further. This is an extraordinary situation. See here. You got Melbourne, Brisbane. Melbourne could lock in and say, well, look, our first week of the finals prep is all settled. Like, we'll move to Brisbane for the week. We will prepare for the game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the game is in Brisbane, but it is Thursday night. You're not going to stay from Thursday to the following week. But you know where you're playing. If you lose, you could lock in everything, know where you're training. There's some advantage to... as I said, I know what you're saying, Brandy. He's not going to say don't try, but there is some advantage to not winning this week to better prepare for week 1 of the finals. Like, if I'm Melbourne, I'm not playing Cameron Munster. Jerome Hughes is already out. Why would you play Munster and Grant?
Yeah.
You leave them all out, don't you?
And it's a tricky one, right? Because they're the first game. they're Thursday against Broncos. So, and looking even further, depending on the results, so if Penrith win, they go to first, which means Storm would play Penrith week 1 of the final. So if you look at that in that light, Vossi, who would you prefer to play?
Yes. Oh, there we go, conspiracy.
This is well.
I'm winning you over, Cameron.
Well, I reckon they take this into consideration. It's all about the end result, right? Like you're looking at, you're trying to find what's the easiest path to the grand final. Is it playing week 1 Broncos or is it playing week 1 Penrith? Now the Storm are playing away. It doesn't matter who they play, whether it's either Penrith or Broncos. But they got to look at that. They got to take that into consideration. Now, a lot of people will go, well, that's the wrong way to go about it. But at the end of the day, everyone involved in this competition, they've got one common goal. That's to win the Premiership.
Yeah,
so one player that won't be rested. One player that won't be rested this weekend will be Ryan Pappenhausen. It'll be interesting to see how much time he gets under his belt this weekend. You'd think the minutes from 19 on the weekend would increase.
You know what, Brandy? I reckon there was a plan in place to get him on earlier, but because of the way the game panned out, where it was so close, I think Craig sort of held him back a little bit. So he only sort of got on there and got, 19 minutes. I think in the back of their mind, they were hoping for maybe a little bit of a buffer on the scoreboard coming into half-time, and he would have spent a bit more time on the field. But this week, most certainly, I'd like to think that he'd get a bit more game time. I reckon they'll start him off the bench again, and bring him on the field. But yeah, I I think there'll be more than 19 minutes.
I think, yeah, and Jerome Hughes, as he won't play this weekend because of a knee injury. I think when looking at what Jerome Hughes has done this year, he might be the most important player in the Melbourne Storm side.
He is.
He just might be.
No, I agree with you. I completely agree with you. When he's running the football, and when he's organising and he's vocal, they play well. When he's quiet, it seems like a bit of a struggle for Melbourne. He's been their best player in the last 3 weeks, by a country mile. By a country mile. So with him being out, it's a bit harder. Be interesting to see actually what Craig Bellamy does because of that injury. Does he take a punt and go, right, I'm going to move Meany to the halves this week and start Pappenhausen? Just to see where he's at.
Yep.
It's a good test for him against the Broncos.
Talking senior players there in the positive, Cameron, we have to put you on the spot about Jared Waerea-Hargreaves. Brandy and I both about our say today. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Like, leading by 18 against the bottom place team, knowing what's ahead of you next week, final minutes of the game or last 10 minutes. And you just lose your you-know-what. And now you're banned for 6 matches. Like, what conversation? Obviously, it's not going to be publicly, but privately, if you put Bellamy in the same, what does a coach say to a player there? Like, does he tear strips off him for what happened?
Well, I think Craig would. I'm not too sure what Trent Robinson, how he would handle it. Maybe a little bit differently, but given the situation that the Roosters are in a must-win game this week, like, they don't get any bigger, does it? Roosters, Rabbitohs.
No.
Like, the rivalry is huge.
Final spot.
And they're after a final spot. Given where they've come from, like, thinking back, 10, 12 weeks ago, like, I think most people had a line through the Roosters. I think some people had sort of like a small hope saying, they may make it, but I think a lot of people were saying, well, they're gone. Like, they're unrecognisable the way they're playing. And for Jared to do that, like, he's an experienced player, very experienced. He's on the cusp of playing 300 NRL games, and just to lose the plot the way he did, it's just goodness me.
300 games. And I was saying, like, if they lost this week, the 300th would be in Vegas. Well, Vegas has gone the trip.
Yeah,
someone texted him to ask, could he use the test matches? Well, no. Jared he only played 15 minutes of the World Cup, so he won't be able to use any test matches played by New Zealand off his ban. It's a 6-game ban he's looking at for 2 incidents. One of those games is Rabbitohs Roosters this week, and then after that, whatever.
Yeah. So if they lose, it's the first 5 rounds of next year.
Yeah. Great start to the season for the Chooks, having Jared sitting on the sidelines. Listening to your chat regarding what teams would make the final 8, and in terms of the games this weekend, should the NRL consider adopting an EPL-style shotgun final round?
I like it. Oh. The final round,
Final round. Sorry, so hang on a sec, Cameron. So no Thursday night football, no Friday night football. No, Super Saturday night. So you're saying Sunday, 3 o'clock Sunday, or what's the time? Stick them all on Saturday?
I think 3 Sunday would be the best time.
Yep, I love it.
3 o'clock Sunday.
It's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And then the TV, then you'd have to roll in 8 games back to back. You have pop-up channels everywhere, wouldn't you? Well, how would you do it? How would we do the coverage? How would that work?
No idea.
Well, how do the EPL do it? They just go to a central desk, don't they, and just keep throwing out the games?
I don't know.
I think each of the clubs have their own channel, though, don't they? I think that's the way it works. Yeah, over there. Yeah. We're not quite there yet, but
it ain't going to happen, Cameron. But yeah, lovely thought. The shotgun. So now, Cameron, of course you're here, and Brandy will bring you. But you had Craig Bellamy, and then you've had some big name representative coaches. Now I'll check in with Brooksy here because we've had Brian Goorjian on the show in the past, and Brandy and I are of the opinion he may be one of the best coaches in the land. Don't worry about just saying basketball.
Sport?
We think, all sport. That man's man sort of thing. And there's been times in the past where I can't remember the game, but it was with Illawarra, wasn't it? Where it got down to the crunch, and the game is on the line, and the cameras go in, and you think you're going to get something, amazing insight and all that, and all he said was, "Go out there and do your and with an ing job." That was his, that for the moment, I said, that is great coaching.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, if there's no point getting a whiteboard, do this. No, you just go, bang, do your, you know what I mean? Like, that's great. So, You've been in it when things hit the mark. This is Brian Goorjian last night for the Boomers. The cameras get in there on the Boomers World Cup. Now, we have had to use a few beeps here, but this is a coach trying to make his point.
With a couple seconds left, before it in the post, baseline layup. We're playing for our lives. 2 dead bodies, strong with a f***ing ball.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, it's not... He's put it in those colourful terms. Now, I'm not saying Brian doesn't play that. He wouldn't do that, all the time out or whatever. But sometimes, Cameron, from your illustrious career... And I have to put a name on it because you're only coached by Craig Bellamy at club level. Was there times where it was just that direct, that succinct, and it cut through better than any sort of analysis?
Yeah, absolutely. I think those instructions there, it's sometimes less is more, right? That's the way it all works. Yeah. It's because you could go on about tactics and technical things and all this sort of stuff, and sometimes players might sit there and go, "What? I didn't get half of what was just said." Whereas if you get the simple instructions, just go and do your job, then that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Everyone knows their job. Everyone knows their role within the side. You just got to go and execute it.
Pretty powerful words when you think about it. Like when it boils down to it, and you're sitting there, you've just come in at half time and you're losing and things aren't great, and he says, "Just do your effing job."
Yep.
Yeah.
And then that makes you that jogs you in, and you go, "Yeah, right. That's pretty simple. That's what I need to do."
That's pretty much a standard halftime speech from Craig Bellamy. That's pretty much every week.
Is it? No, but see, this woke world we live in. But you can't play that. You can't. No, that's a man talking to a man.
Yeah, that's
trying
right.
to get the best out of his men.
Yes.
This is, you put microphones in there. I always remember, what was it? Was it 94? The first time in Origin they ever put a microphone out on the field before kickoff to catch the audio of what is being said.
Yes.
And Mal Meninga. Yeah, Mal.
Yes.
You remember it, Brady. Yeah. Mal drops a C-bomb into the lounge rooms of the entire country. That was quite a moment.
I see you next Tuesday.
They have a problem with it. People you should be fine. No, that's...
Yep.
That's his method, getting the attention of his team in saying coach the team, captain the team. I'm sure you swore, Cameron. You know what I mean?
Times. A few times. And it's just sometimes it's you use it in the right way, and it's just to push a point home, right? So the boys know, well, okay, that's the captain really means that. And at the end of the day, like you said, they're grown men and they're professionals. They are professional athletes. Like they can cop an odd expletive every now and again. I like it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Having said that, I'm not a fan of writing it on your wristband.
Oh, no.
Folds up.
Let's
you know
not
what I mean?
that.
Like,
no.
I just don't. I think that's childish. No. But I'm saying that's the theatre of sport. And last night they had, we apologise for profanity. Well, it's almost like if I wanted to say, I don't apologise for profanity. That's great access we've just been given. You know what I mean? Like that's if you have a problem with it, well, go make a cup of tea. we're bringing you live sport, and that is the moment. Isn't that what you want? Isn't that what you want?
Absolutely.
Right. Give it to me real. It ain't a movie.
Yep. Marco says, boys, after Saturday night, Reese Walsh looked semi-busted. Would Walters think of resting him for this Thursday night's game? What, in the end, did anyone get to the bottom of why Reese Walsh was hobbling around? He sort of started to limp after he scored the last try of the game, where he just Matt Frawley had nightmares about Reese Walsh and the speed. Just you can't handle it, Cameron. No. I said during the call, I said I can't remember a player exhibiting the speed that Walsh has.
Yeah.
Like I just, we've had some fast players.
Yep.
We've had, very quick players, explosive players, but Walsh's speed is another level, I think. It's so hard to handle.
Yeah. I just, the amount of grief that he gives players when he's playing out the back of that block shape, Brandy, when he's got that sweeping run, and his ability to get across the field is like laterally is what troubles defenders. I think I'm still waiting for teams to come up with a plan against Reese Walsh? Because at the moment we're seeing him come up with that same sort of play every week where he just gets outside of the centre and creates an overlap on the outside. So I'm waiting for someone to come up with a bit of a plan. Maybe, one of the best sort of tactical coaches in the game, particularly with defensive systems, is Craig Bellamy. So I'm sort of pretty curious to see what he comes up with this week, if Reese plays, of course. I think it's a very different, like asking that question about Reese and possibly resting him this week. It's a very different scenario that the Broncos find themselves in. It's been 23 years since they've won a minor premiership. Like it's been a fair bit. It's been a long time. So I get the feeling that they'll be after this one. They'll want to win it to secure a minor premiership.
I've been picked up here saying you're kidding, right, Vossi? This is quite the 180 turn to what you said about Reese Walsh saying those words. No, different circumstance. That was Reese Walsh saying it to a teammate, or claiming that he was saying to a teammate he was addressing the referee. Very different to a player addressing a referee with the C-bomb as opposed to a team getting revved up or a coach revving his team up. I won't cop the criticism on that one. You can't be calling the referee.
No.
A C.
No. Because no one believed his explanation that he was talking to Patrick Carrigan. No one believed that. So not even in the same ballpark, that comparison.
Yeah. But the idea of microphones on the field, if anyone has a problem with what is picked up, please, you got to surely, even in this woke world, you are surely in the minority. We watch sport, we love it, for what it is. And then now here's another one. Ricky Stewart on the weekend. We've focused on Ricky. We haven't mentioned this one. The mouthing directly at the camera. So in the heat of battle, Ricky has lost it to a cameraman. Mm-hmm. Now, if that's a player, I reckon the player there's action against him. Does Ricky get action against him as a coach for saying that? It wasn't directed at anyone else other than the cameraman who's doing his job to, off. Mm-hmm. Does something happen to Ricky
to
on
film
that
Ricky
score
on
today?
The sideline?
Yeah.
Yes. Filming Ricky on the sideline, that would be part of his gig. The director would say, point the camera, let's pick up a bit of Ricky Stewart's reaction. If he's on the sideline, that would be the directive that the cameraman would get. All I can say is if it was a player and a different coach, I think we'd hear a lot about it.
Okay.
Yep.
Let's see what happens today. And I know it was a Saturday night incident. It's not the sort of thing that's handled by the match review committee. So it would be today if something comes of it. But Cameron...
That'd be a game thing, wouldn't it, Bossy?
Well, yeah.
Like the NRL have to take action,
Yeah, the NRL, exactly. But Craig Bellamy has said to me, and I'm sure he's had conversations with you, he hates it that the camera catches him in action, but he also feels embarrassed. But he said, I can't help it. That's him. That's me.
Yeah.
I walk off, I vent my spleen on all that. Am I proud of it? No, he's not. But he can't pull it back in. No. But he's got an excuse. He's behind glass. I've never seen Craig Bellamy
direct
mouth down a camera ever.
Yeah. No.
Ever.
Yeah, and that's why you see. That's why you see
can't
Craig.
Let this go, can we?
That's why. Well, that's why you see Craig up in the coach's box, and he's entitled to say whatever he wants to say up there because that's his domain, and he's not directly looking at a cameraman, sort of 15, 20 metres away.
That's his office,
and that's why he walks up the back of the coach's box to vent. You see him stand up and walk up the back. He sort of tries to hide because I feel a little bit for Craig because he's so animated. It's great for television, right? We all understand that.
Love it.
So every game that the Melbourne Storm are involved in, there's actually a camera fixed on the coach's box. You see it. Like I used to recognise it when I was playing. There'd be a camera on the 45-degree angle looking up to the coach's box. It was just fixed on him the entire game. So he understands that there's vision of him constantly. So that's why he removes himself when he has his little moments, I'll call them. But it's not great what happened with Rick the other day. We all know he's very passionate and all that sort of stuff, and it comes up every time. Passionate bloke, loves his footy side, and that's great. But I don't know. Yeah, I think if a player did that, there'd be some sort of action
There'd
taken.
be action, yeah. I'm hoping Ricky gets whatever happens. And again, Ricky's in the firing line today for lots of reasons, but I hope Ricky apologises. I think he gets on the front foot and says, I regret that action the other night. But you all know how passionate I am.
Yeah.
But I regret that. And I apologise to the cameraman in person. He was doing his job.
Just before we go to a break, let's just contemplate this from Dunny. So, anything from Dunny's going to just be a little bit left of centre. Of the 3 on radio, 2 have hairy knuckles. Does that mean you need hairy knuckles to be good at footy?
What is that? What?
Good point. Thank you.